All right. So I'm not sure where the last time you saw my garden was, but all that right there is the garden now. I got tomatoes right here next to some sugar snap peas and some asparagus that I started from seed. It's thin now. I think that's just normal, starting from seed, and it'll build as it grows throughout the years. I gotta take that and move it somewhere and plant it. I just haven't done it yet because I don't know where I'm gonna put it yet. But the tomatoes I put near the asparagus because it said, I found multiple articles online suggesting that tomatoes help to keep asparagus beetles away. They don't like the smell of the tomatoes. So I thought I'd give that a shot and see if that effective range right there, that's about 4 feet-ish, 5 feet, maybe 4 or 5 feet. See what the effective area is for that, how well it does. More tomatoes on the outside here, going all the way around the radius down to just the edge of the corn. And the ones on the outside, the ones I spaced out, didn't really get that tall. They're getting there. They're bigger than they were, and then there's ones that are closer together right there. But the ones that I planted right next to each other. Get over here so you can see the two patches here. Without stepping on anything else. You can see they're, huge in comparison. For the most part, the ones in the front there are still kind of little. They're getting there. But this one, and these were the last ones to go on the ground. That's the funny part. And they're the biggest, and they're already bearing some nice juicy tomatoes, as you can see in there. Don't ask me the varieties. I just threw them all in together. If you don't know anything about Maine, it is said that Maine is incredibly hard to grow watermelon and other melons. And as you can see here, I can't say yes or no to that because this is this is technically the second year I've done melons, but I know what I did wrong last year. And as you can see, they're doing just fine. And here's a big patch of butternut squash with nice beautiful flowers in between. And you can see all the heads. I mean, for such a little patch, just the sheer abundance for such a little patch. I love it. Gonna get a lot of squash out of that. Cucumbers, again, nice little yellow flowers. They just started flowering a couple days ago too. Gonna have quite a few cucumbers. There's another cucumber patch over there. The corn, it's doing well. These ones are gonna go back to these big ones in the front here. They've done the best so far, and they're gonna be the ones I use for seed next year for certain. This one is doing pretty well. The one going back there, not so good in comparison. But I've been coming out with wood ash, putting it in there for fertilizer, liquidated wood ash I call it. You can see that giant grasshopper right there. He's been moving around through my garden. I don't know if they're good or bad. I'm not really familiar with grasshoppers. I'm gonna have to research that. I haven't seen a grasshopper that big in a while, to be honest. We got beans flowering in here. The beans, I went corn, bean, corn, bean, corn, bean. Beans and peas take the carbon dioxide. Pretty sure. That's the one I'm looking for. Whichever one is in the atmosphere. I'm not a science guy. And I think monoxide's from cars. And they create nitrogen and put it into the ground, and they share it through the roots with the other plants. So here, it's done well. I don't know if it's specific varieties of beans, but I tried it over here, and as you can see, these are nice and green. These are kind of a lime green, not lime green, they're kind of dark, but so yeah, I've been coming out and trying to keep those guys alive. You can see there's also squash in there. The squash helps shade to keep the weeds down, but also the wood chips do the same thing. I'll get to that. Potatoes that I had in a bag, I put in the ground and they came right up. They were starting to turn green and had a bunch of eyes all over them. So I was like, we'll try it, see what happens. So you can see the success on that end is great. And then the success starting on this end, not so much. This is where I did all my greens, my cabbages, some radishes, a few other things. These are supposed to be radishes. They haven't done well. This was spinach, and there's arugula at the end, but you can't even see it. And then this is... So I've had two issues with this area, and I think it's because of... One of them is because of the way I planted, and the other one is because I stripped the wood chips down. Because I was thinking, so I just kind of took seeds and went like this all through the rows, instead of making my traditional row like you see, this straight row right here. Because I was trying to be quote-unquote efficient in my head, and it did not work out. So the two theories, one is when it rains, the water is supposed to come down and hold the moisture in the wood chips and keep the ground moist without getting it too wet. And if there's a drought, it supplies the garden with the water from the wood chips. And as you can see, the dirt here, it did just rain, but usually it's the same. I've been testing the moisture and it's always been the same each day. Nice and wet, but not overly wet. And you can see over here, everything here on this end, the successful side, I haven't watered once myself. It's all rainwater. I tried watering this end because this tree, this big guy, is right over everything, and it keeps the rain from getting around to the drip line, and it makes it very hard for this area to get water. So as you can see here, it's chalky, it's kind of dark, it's got a little wet, but it's not soft like the other side. I have trouble digging, it's compacted, it's not doing the job. And the reason why is I stripped the wood chips off. And I'll show you that in a second why I say that. But the other reason why these didn't come up is because they're very, if you've seen greens, you know the seeds, they're very tiny in comparison to, you look over there, everything over there, squash, beans, corn, everything is a big seed and it comes up big. Even the peas, that's why the peas are, those are my field peas that I planted early spring. They're already starting to go by, that's normal. It has nothing to do with the garden itself. They were there, I'm letting them go to seed so I can pick them off and use them next year. All the little seeds, even this thin layer of wood chips, excuse me, about a ½ inch is what I tried to do, just to hold moisture in my head. You know, I thought that was the right thing to do. And as you can see, it didn't work out very well. So a week and a half ago, something like that, I did a test. I made a line, left the wood chips as, you know, the rain's kind of washed some in, but for the most part you can see they're free of wood chips. And they're coming up. And they're getting big. And they're doing very well right now. And we'll see if they keep going. It's just a theory that I tested, but it seems to be plausible and working out well. This is lettuce. That one's lettuce. And 3 days ago, I came over here and put more lettuce and kale in. And as you can see, sprung right up without any issue. Just 3 days later. I'm not going to go through the whole row. I'm just kind of give you, see some of them are already kind of big. There's a frog. I like that wet soil. Let's see if I can... There they are. So yeah, and then I took the wood chips that were right here that were already still wet, and I put them up higher so they'd hold more water and do a better job, because that's what they're designed to do. And with like 4 or 5 inches of wood chips, they do the job they're supposed to, and I'm going to show you why I say that. Because if I come over here, back to the asparagus, and I start digging down. Keep in mind it did just rain, so the top layer is wet, but this is normally what it looks like anyway. Get the wood chips out of the way, and right down to the ground, and as you can see, the ground is still wet. It's so wet, in fact, that there's even little red algae under there. So, and that's normal. So they're doing their job over here. So I think next year I'm going to make sure not to make the same mistake, especially under that tree. It didn't work out as bad over here because they get full rain and the wood chips get really good and soaked and saturated compared to under the tree. So when those don't get that much water, the wood chips all the way down in the ground dry out, and then the ground itself dries out. So, lesson learned. I think that's it over here. I'm going back this way real quick. Pumpkin that I put in underneath my hydrangea because the soil was good and soft. Hydrangeas and other big trees like apple trees provide roots that naturally till the ground. So when you get down on your hands and knees, you can see that's nice soft soil. I mean, look at that. No tilling required. The roots do it for you. Just nice soft soil, so everything comes up nice and easy. Some amaranth that I planted. I finally put it in the ground, otherwise it would probably be like 3 or 4 feet tall by now. But I didn't put it in the ground that long ago. I kind of forgot about it. These are some spaghetti. I opened up a spaghetti squash from a store, and I threw the seeds in the ground, and that's what came up. I imagine it's going to fruit, but I think that honestly they're not going to be very big. I wood chipped this area, and because these hydrangeas, this one and that one over there, were almost dead. They had dead branches all the way up to in here, just all over the place. It was getting choked out. I cleared it all out, and you can see the new growth has been exponential, and it's flowering very well. And this one, it's more shaded, so the branches they're thinner, but it's still recovering pretty well. I don't know. It's already got new growth, so I don't think it'll die, but it's never going to look as good as the one on the outside that gets more sun. This area over here is my next project. So you can see the bare spot where I've been pulling weeds out. And I'm going to revive that rose bush. That thing needs a little love. Over here I plan to put wood chips in this area, because it's got an incredibly large amount of tree cover and shade. The sun is always, let's get my hand in here, like this. So this area stays constantly shaded, and the wood chips will stay nice and wet all the time. So I'm going to try growing portobello mushrooms and other good mushrooms in here. Go out into the woods in the spring and see if I can pick up some reishi and a few other native to bring back and try growing. As you can see, after it rains, I get some mushrooms growing. That's from the wood chips themselves. It's not from the ground. And as you can see, these ones here, these ones always pop up when it's wet overnight, and then the sun hits them and they shrivel and die. They've never been an issue, as you can tell. So we're up to 15. I did end up getting permission to put a second garden in the field. I actually want to try rating this area. As you can see those ferns over there as I'm walking by. Let me see if I can get a zoom for you here. Yeah, you see them right there. Zoom back out. And other grasses that you would normally see. That area is very wet. I want to get some wood chips in there. You can even see the ferns right here. Yeah, ferns. I'm gonna try growing rice. See what happens because the wood chips stay nice and wet. So I don't think I need to make a rice paddy per se. I think the wood chips will supply enough water constantly to keep rice growing. It's just going to be an experiment. We'll see if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not overly concerned. I'm just curious. This is the second garden, as you can see. Got all field around here. A lot of wildflowers to keep the bees around. I got to come through. I've been slowly clearing these weeds out. I mean, the wood chips do their job because, you know, I just go like that and you can see there's the roots. That weed's gone. It ain't coming back. Some of them are not as easy to pull out because of other weeds next to them, but I still can get them if I give it a good yank, and you can see that root system there. Gone, not coming back. I've been coming out and do that at my leisure when I want something to do outside. This split row right here has carrots in it. I was just kind of curious to see how they do out here. What I should have done was taken newspaper and lined it all and killed all this heavy field grass, because where I didn't put the newspaper, there's a taproot there. You can see once I get past everything, there it is. It makes it very complicated to get up, and you can see it's still pretty tight knit. That field grass is strong, so having to get it to come up has been a pain. But where I put newspaper, which is right here, yeah, I just raked it off. That's all I did. Raked it right off. So yeah, this will be, once the fall comes and everything dies off, I'm going to rake all the wood chips back this way and newspaper this whole area. I've got some old newspapers I've been collecting for that purpose. I'm going to put them down, and this garden should be ready next year. And then I'm just going to slowly start expanding it outward. I want to get some apple trees in here, some blueberry bushes. I want to grow some amaranth in the back, get a nice production of that going. So if I get chickens, I'll have my own seed to give them during the winter to keep them fed. So yeah, that's for the most part, the garden's doing great. The new rows of greens have shown promise, so I'm looking forward to that. You can usually, in our planting season, get a double crop in before the end of the growing season. Another thing is with the wood chips, they hold heat, so the ground outside the wood chips is actually cooler than it is inside the wood chips. So at the end of the year, they insulate and protect from things like frost and whatnot, although they can still obviously frost can still kill the top part of the plant, but the roots will still be there. But things like kale will survive quite a long time before frost will finally kill it off. So yeah, I wanted to do a quick video, but it's kind of hard. So enjoy. That's my progress so far.